Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for the 17th installment of the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project's Stay Healthy at Home webinar series. This week, we are presenting a slideshow titled, Let Me Introduce Myself, all about NJSAP and NJSSAN. So we really appreciate your support of these webinars. And I will introduce myself now. My name is Ashley Ritchey, and I'm the director of the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project, which has been a division-funded program of the ARC of New Jersey since 1983. So my team and I support the state's largest network of individual self-advocates and self-advocacy groups. We provide comprehensive training and resources to self-advocates, direct support staff, and agency personnel statewide. We're going to get into the specifics of the types of supports that we provide in just a bit. That's really the crux of this webinar. But as a reminder, we welcome questions, comments, and feedback throughout the webinar. I will make sure to dedicate time at the end of this presentation to address any unanswered questions. And you can submit your questions in the questions box. So using the participant control panel, that should show up on the right side of your screen. Just go to the questions tab and you can write anything you'd like in there. We have a dedicated team member who is watching the questions box to make sure that we address all relevant questions. Also, a copy of this slideshow will be posted on our website later this week, and your certificate of completion will be emailed to you directly later this week. And if you wouldn't mind, please complete the survey that will appear at the end of this webinar. It's just a couple questions, and we want to hear about additional training topics you'd like us to address in the future. So as I said, this webinar is really all about the New Jersey Statewide Self-Advocacy Network, and specifically the kind of breakdown of the network, how it looks, and its function in promoting self-advocacy throughout New Jersey. We will also cover the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project, or NJSAP. So that's a group of professionals who support the work of the New Jersey Statewide Self-Advocacy Network, and we'll get into the specifics of the exact services and supports that we currently provide in light of COVID, as well as other events that we've hosted in person and other advocacy events we hope to return to when it's safe to do so. So I think that we should really start off our discussion around, what is advocacy? Because the two organizations we'll be discussing today, the Statewide Self-Advocacy Network and the Self-Advocacy Project, are all about advocacy. Advocacy can certainly take on many forms, but in general, it involves speaking up. So if something isn't happening in a way that you want it to happen, we need to speak up. We need to use our voice, and in many cases, our collective voice, to enact positive, widespread change. So advocacy, again, can be an individual effort. We advocate every day, and we might not even think about it that way. But when we let other people in our lives know how we feel about things and what we need, that's advocacy. I always use the example of, we're not able to read other people's minds, right? So we may think we know what people want, but it really takes that effective communication and clarity to make sure that everyone's on the same page, and that we're, as a support staff, we're providing appropriate support where it's needed and in the way that it's needed. So I'm sure that most of the folks on this webinar today are really familiar with the self-advocacy movement. But if not, the self-advocacy movement is a worldwide civil rights movement created by people with intellectual and developmental disabilities to further the efforts of self-advocates, who are people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So the movement is really aimed at providing increasing quality of life for people with disabilities, as well as gaining some social inclusion, integration into our communities, and overall equitable treatment for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, not just here in New Jersey, but worldwide. So that's kind of advocacy in a nutshell. And I am proud to be the director of a program here at the ARC of New Jersey. And the ARC of New Jersey is a large statewide self-advocacy organization that works to promote advocacy on behalf of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families. So there are several programs of the ARC of New Jersey. And again, I'm the director of the Self-Advocacy Project, but there's also a criminal justice advocacy program for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities who are involved in the criminal justice system. So their mission is to really advocate on behalf of those individuals who are involved in the system to ensure that the system is set up to accommodate their needs and make sure that they have the best chance possible being represented in an equitable way. The Planning for Adult Life program is a transition program. So that's for students with disabilities who are preparing to leave school and enter the adult realm. There's also a governmental affairs program, the Family Institute, Mainstreaming Medical Care Program. Training and Consultation Services provides training to self-advocates and supported employment professionals throughout the state. And speaking of Project Hire, that is our supported employment program here at the ARC of New Jersey. Camp JC is also a camp for folks with disabilities up in the Poconos in PA. So I wanted to mention all of the programs that comprise the ARC of New Jersey because there's a lot going on. For today's purposes, we're going to focus specifically on one program, the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project. But there's a lot that's being offered for self-advocates, siblings, family members, and professionals. If you'd like to learn more, that's a live link to the ARC of New Jersey website. And just a quick note about the ARC. Here's the logo. This is the official logo of the ARC of New Jersey. And I just wanted to note the spelling because I think there's still some misinformation about that. The ARC is just a capital T, capital A. It does not stand for anything in particular. It essentially means that we are providing services throughout the arc of a person's lifetime. So it is not capital ARC, it is the ARC of New Jersey. A rebranding happened some years ago, so I just like to remind everyone that that's the appropriate spelling and the appropriate branding. So let's jump into the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project team. There are 4 of us, 4 full-time staff members on the team. I'm the director. Erin Smithers is the Information and Referral Coordinator. Frankie Bayak is the Media and Communications Coordinator. And Kelly Mulvaney is our Training and Technical Assistance Coordinator. So we provide supports and services to New Jersey self-advocates as well as professional staff throughout the state. And we are a program of the ARC of New Jersey, and we work to support the New Jersey Statewide Self-Advocacy Network. Essentially, as the job title suggests, we have many services to offer self-advocates as well as professional staff and group advisors. So if you are looking to establish a self-advocacy group within your agency or organization, we can help with that. If you need help supporting the work of an existing self-advocacy group at your organization, we'd be happy to help with that as well. And really, our media is intentionally created to be accessible and educational. Our information and referral services are prompt, comprehensive, and tailored to individual needs. So we are here to essentially respond to the individual requests that we get. We want to make sure that you have the information you need to effectively advocate within the larger systems. So we will give some examples later of our particular media and communications that are being sent out currently. But again, everything is meant to be accessible. So it's not only for one particular group of people. It's meant to be used and shared by the larger network. And this is an infographic that was created early on into our stay-at-home order. That has since ended, but I know a lot of us are still largely spending our time at home. So this infographic kind of breaks down the different services that the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project incorporated when the stay-at-home order was in effect. when we knew people were not going to be going to day programs every day or going to their offices every day, that meant that we as a team were not going to be able to be traveling throughout the state and providing in-person services. So we moved our trainings online. As you know, we're doing our Stay Healthy at Home webinars every Tuesday on GoToWebinar. And on Wednesdays, we have our Healthy Lifestyles Project live events on Zoom. And I'm going to get into the specifics of that program in just a bit. But we also offer a variety of free trainings for self-advocates on Zoom as well. And so if you are interested in any of this information, please send us an email. Here's our contact info. Essentially, we just wanted to create a place where self-advocates and staff could come and use some of our resources. So we welcome you to, check out our social media accounts where we post content all of the time, and get involved in whatever way possible. So we know that, some people are very limited on time, people have a lot going on, but we try to create opportunities to get involved in self-advocacy in a way that works for anybody's schedule. So I just mentioned our Stay Healthy at Home series, which you are on right now, and we so appreciate the support. We kicked this off in April of this year, and again, the goal was really to stay connected while we were apart. So the NJSAP team has hosted a webinar each week, and the sessions are thankfully super well attended, and the audience is primarily made up of self-advocates, self-advocacy group advisors, professional staff and administrative staff, as well as family members and our direct support professionals. We have presented at this point on a bunch of different topics, including the ADA and the ADA's relationship to employment and reasonable accommodations. We've also presented on assistive technology, responding to action alerts, internet safety for students and adults with intellectual developmental disabilities, and a variety of webinars on COVID-related resources. So virtual resources that are happening in place of in-person programming, and also effective ways of wearing masks or creating your own mask and returning to society. That was a recent webinar. We've also hosted webinars on the 2020 census, which is still going on. You can still participate, and it has a critical impact on all of our lives, but especially funding for students and adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So yeah, we've tried to create webinars that are addressing a variety of topics and all relate in some way to positively impacting the lives of people with developmental disabilities and their family members. So again, we really appreciate the support, and our upcoming webinars require registration, so you can click this link to register. And the Stay Healthy at Home webinar series is part of our Healthy Lifestyles Project, which is a segment of the Self-Advocacy Project that specifically focuses on educating students and adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities about all of the aspects of health and wellness. So we don't just talk about diet and exercise. We talk about the many different ways where we can gain greater health and greater wellness in our lives. So that includes illness prevention, hygiene, stress management. I think we can all use that. And how our diet impacts the other areas of our life, like our energy levels, our ability to have a good night's rest. So these are some of the topics that we train on, and typically we would be training in person, but we're still doing these trainings online. So if you are interested in hosting us at your program, please feel free to get in touch. We'd be happy to set something up. And again, we can create the Zoom meeting, and your groups would be able to join in for the training. So moving on to our Healthy Lifestyles Project Live. This is one of our newer, very recently unleashed events. It's an activity that we've built into our weekly virtual repertoire. So prior to COVID, we were hosting several in-person community-based events every month as part of our Healthy Lifestyles Project, all with the goal of teaching folks what it looks like to live a healthy, active lifestyle in your community. So we've hosted in-person trainings as well as the community-based events, but due to COVID, we have transitioned to fully virtual training. So if you are interested, you can email njsap@arcnj.org. Our contact information is at the end of this webinar as well. But so far, our Healthy Lifestyles Project live events have covered some really cool topics. We've done a presentation called Road to Relaxation, which was all about an active meditation and creating a vision board. So using elements of creativity and planning to bring greater awareness to our surroundings and some stress management tips. And we also hosted a journaling class last week, which is kind of an active meditation in and of itself. And it's awesome because you get to see the folks that are part of the activity. So unlike this webinar where there's not a back and forth interaction or live video, HLP Live is truly live. So if you're interested in that, you can click here to register for upcoming sessions. And if you have ideas for sessions that you'd like us to host or topics that you'd like to see us cover, please write that in the questions box now. We'd love to hear what you want to do. So we do have some really great upcoming sessions, one of which is an adaptive fitness session led by a certified personal trainer. We're also going to do a massage therapy activity. And we're going to do adaptive yoga sessions. And a really popular one is the paint and sip activity that we're going to be doing on August 26th, just next week. So for the folks who registered in time and before the deadline for that activity, they actually received painting kits in the mail with canvases, an easel, and a full paint set with paintbrushes. So Frankie Bayak, our wonderful media and communications coordinator, is going to be leading the group through a guided painting session, while Erin Smithers will be discussing our sip options. So instead of soda, we're going to make alternate suggestions for a more healthy option that can be enjoyed, because it is Healthy Lifestyles Project live after all. And as always, we try to do our best to pull all of our information and all of our content on all of our social media accounts. So if you're just following us on Instagram, hopefully you'll get all of that information the same as someone who only follows us on Twitter would. Of course, we'd love it if you can follow us on all of our accounts, but these are really the spots where we are posting the most. We're on Twitter very frequently, Instagram, Facebook, and we have a YouTube channel where all of our videos are posted as well. So you can choose which option works best for you, but we do post very frequently, and we often ask for folks to participate in advocacy campaigns. So this is a good way to stay in touch with us through social media. And just looking into kind of a breakdown of our daily virtual activities, we try to do at least something every day of the week. So we want to make sure that the activities we were doing pre-COVID, they've really been successfully adapted to a virtual format. And the goal is really just to stay connected. We value that connection so much with the really amazing advocates and staff that support self-advocacy throughout the state. So on Mondays, you can join us for a Meditation Monday, a nice way to kick off your week. We post those videos every Monday on our Instagram and Facebook pages. On Training Tuesdays from 2 to 3, you have the Stay Healthy at Home webinar series, but you already knew that because you're here and we appreciate that. Again, you can click here for upcoming sessions as well as to review archive webinars that have been previously recorded. On Wednesdays, we've got a pretty packed day. We upload at least one video related to adaptive fitness or yoga. And we have our Healthy Lifestyles Project live sessions on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. They do require registration. So again, we have that information in the resources slide at the end of this presentation. On Thursdays, we have brain games. This is really fun. It's just a fun, free way to kind of tease your brain every week and also have that connection with other advocates and folks who are on the games with us. So there's an interactive element to it, and that you can write in the chat box on Facebook, because they are often held on Facebook Live. So it's facilitated by a member of the Self-Advocacy Project team, but it's also attended by a lot of different folks, and it's just a really fun, nice way to stay connected. So check our Facebook page for this week's game and how to join in. And on Friday, you can't forget Friday, we have healthy snacking videos that are posted to our social media accounts. So if you're interested in that, and who's not, some snacking inspiration, you can check us out on the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project social media accounts. So again, the YouTube channel, our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And looking into our trainings for adults with disabilities, these are specifically designed for self-advocates. So these are all the sessions that we were training in person. We were visiting different programs in person, but that's okay. We've adapted to online training formats. And we definitely use more props, and we use more interactive elements to make sure that folks are engaged while we're training online. But these are all of the trainings that are currently available. So, hopefully this covers the interests and the needs of the groups that you support. And if you would like us to present any of these topics or all of these topics, please just get in touch with us. Here's our contact information, our email address, and let us know what would work for you. We're always happy to host trainings. Again, we have a New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project Zoom account. So no worries, if your program doesn't have that training platform, we can create the event and host the event, send you a link, and then all of the folks that you support can join that call. So again, they're free, customizable, and intentionally interactive. We want to hear from folks and have that back and forth dialogue. We're always open as well to creating brand new trainings based on the needs and interests of the groups that you support. So don't be shy. If there's a particular topic that, someone in your group has expressed interest in, but you don't see it here, let us know. We're always brainstorming new trainings. We have 2 brand new ones that we're working on now to add to the list. So we hope that you'll get in touch if you have any interest in participating. So moving along, I wanted to discuss the action alerts that the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project and New Jersey Statewide Self-Advocacy Network send out. It is sent out under the ARC of New Jersey's general account, but again, we're a program of the ARC, as are the programs that we discussed before. And the action alerts are, if you see this, there's a red box up here, it's time sensitive, meaning it's a very critical issue that requires your immediate response. And typically, we break it down so that you can effectively respond to an action alert in potentially just a couple minutes, just a couple seconds. We provide various ways to participate, so it's not only writing a letter or making a phone call. We also try to, be current, stay with the times. You can tweet at the governor. So this particular action alert, it has a very clear ask right here. Please tell Governor Murphy no cuts to supports and services in the fiscal year 21 budget. So just keep in mind that the state runs on a fiscal year, meaning that their new fiscal year is July 1, not January 1. That's why you're seeing a lot of this information come out now, because the state budget has been extended by 3 months. So that new spending plan, that new budget has to be finalized by September 30th instead of June 30th. And again, of course, that's due to COVID. So if we just look at this action alert, this is something that we hope is accessible and available to an advocate of any experience level. We have a clear ask, and then we've outlined specific ways that you can get involved. So visiting this site, which is actually Governor Murphy's website, you can send an electronic correspondence to him directly. If that's not what you want to do, you can also tweet at the governor, and they even provide a message, kind of a pre-planned message that you can copy and paste instead of creating one of your own. You can always create one of your own, that's great, make it personal, to your experience and your circumstance, but this is also a message that can be shared. And you can certainly call the governor as well. And then his phone number is clearly outlined here, as well as a kind of script that you might want to follow if you're calling him directly. And as always, it's not the governor that will be picking up the phone. It will be a member of his staff, but they are charged with recording what the caller wants. So you want to be very clear, you want to be very concise, and you want to be, of course, respectful to the person answering the phone. And again, this is a message that can be relayed, and it's really power in numbers. We're working together as an organization, as a statewide network, to advocate effectively. So these are, again, there's different ways to get involved, and you get to choose which way makes sense for your schedule and your comfort level. So looking into the publications that the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project produces each month. We have our Advocacy Matters newsletter. And again, this goes out once a month, and it focuses on the advocacy work that members of the Statewide Self-Advocacy Network have engaged in that month, as well as the priorities and initiatives of the Self-Advocacy Project. So we talk about relevant advocacy campaigns that are happening, such as the hashtag campaign that we implemented back in January for July as a way of celebrating the 30th anniversary of the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act. The New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project created a hashtag that could be used on social media to basically share messages from self-advocates about the impact of the ADA on their own lives. And we also continue to push for census participation amongst people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We know that historically, people with disabilities were not responding at the same level as people without disabilities. So we really wanted to make sure that we continue to push this message and provide information and ways to fill out the census in an accessible way. So again, that information is right here. So yeah, this was last month's issue, July 2020, and it's sent out at the end of the month to basically gather, put all of our advocacy work into one place. So if you don't read anything else throughout the month, please check out Advocacy Matters, because it's really summing up the priorities of the Self-Advocacy Project and the Statewide Self-Advocacy Network every month. We also produce another newsletter each month, which is titled Positive Pulse. So Positive Pulse is a place to track all of the work of our Healthy Lifestyles Project. Typically, Positive Pulse is sent out twice monthly because there's no such thing as, too much great information about health and wellness. And as the tagline suggests, it's a monthly dose of advice on healthy living. So last month, we focused on tracking goals. We worked on nutrition tracking, so the things we're eating, the things we're putting into our body every day. And then the other issue that went out last month focused on fitness goals. So again, it's a super fun read. Frankie does an amazing job with the graphics and is able to incorporate really cool GIFs, moving images in there. And it's set out in a way where our hope is that you can take these kind of templates, take this advice and incorporate it into your own life, or share this information with the groups that you support. So yeah, this is Positive Pulse. And we love new email signups. So I'm going to provide a link to do just that in a moment so you can get all this information. And I do want to also highlight some of the resources that are readily available on the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project homepage. Some of these resources are also included in the handout section of today's webinar. So you can grab some of them there. I hope that you review the handouts, but also if you, there's a lot of other resources on the NJSAP homepage as well. This is a screenshot of just a couple of them, just a sample of some of the resources. But if you're looking for a particular resource that you just don't find on the web page, you can't seem to find information on, again, reach out to us. Don't be shy. We want to be able to provide comprehensive resources. And actually, many of the resources that are currently available were created because someone reached out and asked about a particular topic or a particular program and wanted to learn more but couldn't find an accessible resource. So we welcome good ideas and suggestions for more educational resources. And again, when we're creating these resources, it is with self-advocates, staff, and family members in mind. We want to make sure it's accessible to everybody. There shouldn't be a barrier to entry to understand, what the different programs that are at play to support people with disabilities. So yeah, it's all on our homepage, NJSelfAdvocacyProject.org. And again, that is also pasted in the resources section at the end of this slideshow. And as I promised, we have a direct link to join our email list. So you can receive all of the information that I've already discussed, our newsletters, our action alerts, information about upcoming events. We have a lot going on, so I invite you personally to join the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project's email list because we want to stay connected. So let's have a discussion now, kind of move into the second portion of our webinar, our time together, the New Jersey Statewide Self-Advocacy Network. So again, this is a statewide organization, the largest statewide organization of self-advocates in New Jersey. And fun fact, before NJSAN was NJSAN, it was NJUSA, which stood for New Jersey United Self-Advocates. From the start, it was a dedicated group of adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities who wanted to see real change in the service delivery system for adults with disabilities, as well as the attitude, the societal attitudes towards people with disabilities. So if we're looking back, to the 1980s and even earlier, a lot of folks were still, adults with disabilities were still living in more congregate settings like developmental centers or state schools. So there was a big push to get people into their communities, back into living in smaller settings where they can choose the people that they live with and choose the places that they want to live, the neighborhoods they want to live in. I was able to find a video that I love to share this video because I know a lot of the advocates in this video, and I think it's a really great way of kind of summing up person first language. So I'm going to play a video in just a moment, but I do want to provide a caveat. The video does feature the R word. So if you're uncomfortable with that, I want to let you know now. You can mute the video. But it's very impactful, and it's being used to basically explain person first language and the importance of person first language. So the video was produced 10 years ago. So the diagnostic criteria has changed since then. We no longer use MR as a diagnosis in psychiatry or the medical field, but it was replaced because of self-advocates, because self-advocates asked for this. It was replaced with intellectual developmental disorder or intellectual disability as the umbrella term. So I really want to share this video because it highlights some of the founding members of the Statewide Self-Advocacy Network, or NJUSA as it was called at that time. And it also is a great piece about person first language, which continues to be a priority for self-advocates to this day. So let's jump into the video.
There's been times that I've been called names. Oh, you're stupid, retarded, dummy, slow, idiot, and stupid, feeble-minded, handicapped, retarded, mentally retarded, retarded, or dumb.
I have been called retarded, and I never liked that word at all.
And how'd that make you feel?
Mad, really mad.
Mad, sad,
Bad.
very upset and angry.
Lousy, upset, angry, crying, everything. They would make me feel hurtful, painful inside. Hurt. It made me feel disrespected. And that hurts my feelings. It's very hurtful.
Made me feel like 2 cents.
It makes me feel like I've been put away and not wanted. Like I'm not a person. People with disabilities should be treated like everybody else.
It's not nice to call other people names.
What words do you think people should use?
We should use like people with intellectual disabilities or people with developmental disabilities.
I'm a person first. My disability second.
We're not handicapped, we're just people with disability.
Gotta respect people with disabilities, you know, we can't help it because we have a disability. We were born that way.
You're not stupid or dumb. You're smart.
We got brains, because we're in a wheelchair. We still have brains when we have feelings. Look past this wheelchair. Look past it. Look at me. Don't look at this car I'm in.
We're just like anybody else. We have the same dreams, the same concerns like everybody else.
We're people first. You know, we're individuals who matter. And as a person with this, people with disability need that respect in all aspects of life. The words moron, idiot, handicap, and all that stuff, it's not really appropriate to use for person. The word retarded needs to end. For other people don't have to feel bad in their heart. You should treat people with the respect that you want to treat people the way you want to be treated. Talk to them as a person, not a child, not a baby.
Being respected is a good word because I like that word.
To be respected, not to have anybody teasing you and all.
Respect other people.
Respect.
Respect.
Respect. Please.
So yeah, that's one of my favorite videos to share. I think it's important, again, to hear directly from self-advocates, right? You're hearing directly from some of the founding members of, again, the largest statewide self-advocacy network in New Jersey. And again, some of the issues continue to be priorities for the groups that we support. This is kind of a breakdown of what the statewide self-advocacy network looks like. So up in the northwestern portion of the state, we have Council 1. So Council 1 is made up of Sussex, Morris, Warren, and Hunterdon counties, and advocates from each of these counties. And then if we move over to Council 2, bordering right there, New York, we've got Passaic, Bergen, Essex, Union, and Hudson. So that's Council 2. Council 3 is made up of Somerset, Mercer, Middlesex, Monmouth, and Ocean counties, and advocates residing in each of those counties. Council 4, which was actually recently resituated to include Salem County. Salem County used to be part of Council 5. It was made, the decision was made to move Salem to Council 4 because there's a highway that runs up here to where the Council 4 meeting is held each month. So when everybody was traveling to our monthly meetings, unfortunately, when Salem was part of Council 5, they had to travel like up and over to get to the Council 5 meeting. So they elected to join Council 4 region. And Council 5 is made up of Cumberland, Atlantic, and Cape May counties. So again, this is kind of what the statewide self-advocacy network looks like. And just as the councils are made up of different counties and different advocates from each of these counties, the goals and priorities of the different councils that make up the larger network are different. Each council is responsible for developing their own goals each year, and with the support of the Self-Advocacy Project team member who serves as group advisor, basically create a plan for achieving those goals. So I advise Council 1, Erin Smithers is the advisor to Councils 2 and 3, and Kelly Mulvaney is the advisor to Councils 4 and 5. So we cover the whole state. These meetings that happen each month are still happening, thankfully, because we use platforms like Zoom and Google Hangout to meet. So there is a lot going on in terms of the Statewide Self-Advocacy Network, but let's do a quick poll. I'm wondering if folks know, which council area do you live in? So let me launch this poll real quick. Okay, so we just reviewed that. We just reviewed the county breakdowns of each council area. So just identify which one you live in, please. And we'll give it just a minute to see where everyone's at. Okay, so we've got 44% of the attendees on this call, on this webinar today, are representing Council 2. So that would be the areas of Essex, Hudson, Bergen, Passaic, and Union. And there's also, this is very interesting, an even split between Council 1 and 3. 17% of folks are from Council 1, 17% from Council 3, and then 11% from either Council 4 or Council 5. Very cool. So thanks for doing that. That's just a fun little, maybe a quiz to see how well you know your council areas. So let's move right along. I want to talk about the New Jersey Statewide Self-Advocacy Network Advisory Board. The Advisory Board is the governing body of the Statewide Self-Advocacy Network. So the Advisory Board is made up of one chairperson from each of the 5 councils, one vice chairperson from each of the 5 councils, and then an appointed independent advocate. So each council receives support from a member of the Self-Advocacy Project team, either Erin, Kelly, or myself, in regards to providing group advisement, being the group advisor. And per the bylaws of the Statewide Self-Advocacy Network, elections for these positions take place every 2 years at the regional council meeting. So there is a true election. Results are announced that day at the council meeting. There are speeches, there's campaigning, there is, again, an official private ballot, and a recount to make sure everything is accurate. But this is a process that, we want to make sure folks are prepared to fulfill the role of chairperson and vice chairperson and independent advocate. So there's training that goes into that process before the election's held. So we host trainings, we make sure that people are aware of the expectations of those positions, because it's a leadership role. You're providing leadership to your full council each month at the council meeting, as well as reporting to the advisory board every month at those board meetings. Because it's important, when we represent a statewide organization, it's important to stay in frequent communication to make sure everybody is, fulfilling their responsibilities and making sure they're fulfilling those leadership roles. So let's take a look at one of the articles of the advisory board bylaws. Essentially, all of the actions of the board, as well as the elections themselves, they're dictated by a set of rules called bylaws. So this is not unique to the Statewide Self-Advocacy Network Advisory Board. This is something that happens in big corporations and other organizations. We need a set of rules to follow, and that has to be planned out in advance. They can be amended due to different circumstances that come up or change in routine, but essentially the bylaws always include the organization's mission or vision. And as we can see here, Article 2 of the bylaws cover the NJSAN Advisory Board's mission, which is to unite self-advocates through the state of New Jersey to ensure that people with intellectual and developmental disabilities are treated as equal, dignified, and contributing members of their community and greater society. So that is behind everything that we do. That basically, a mission statement is meant to be brief, concise, but sum up the work that you do. So I think this does a pretty good job of that. And this mission statement was developed by members of the board with support from the statewide self-advocacy NJSAP team, New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project team. And here's a photo of some, it's so hard to get everybody in one photo, but here are some of the members of the advisory board from actually back in 2018. Our Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month theme was Together, No Limits. So templates were distributed at the board meeting, and each board member had a chance to write a personal message about what that theme meant to them and how they felt that the theme of Together, No Limits relates to the overall mission of Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. So these templates were then posted on social media to basically further the conversation and the attention around DD Awareness Month, as social media is really effective in doing. Because that was a goal of the advisory board several years back, when people started creating Facebook pages for their advocacy work and Twitter accounts and things like that. The board identified that this was an important direction to take and is fully behind promoting their work online as well as in person when it's safe to do so. So again, here's a couple photos of some of the current board reps at the Statewide Self-Advocacy Network's Fall Conference. In addition to advising their regional councils and attending board meetings and providing updates, the board members are responsible for planning 2 major events every year with the support of the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project team. We work with the board members to develop a conference theme, which then informs the design of the t-shirts that are sold at the conference, which is the only fundraiser that the board hosts each year. The board members also moderate workshops at the fall conference, introduce speakers, and serve as overall MC of the events. So Evelyn is our board president, and you can see her there on the right, providing opening remarks during the Spring into Action Luncheon, which is held in April each year. Kevin on the left is moderating a workshop on transportation at the fall conference, which is held in September each year. And I should mention it is the largest professional development conference for self-advocates and self-advocacy group advisors in the state. So there's a lot of work that goes into these events, and the board is crucial in making sure that these events happen and are representative of what the whole network wants. And here's another photo of board reps with Assemblyman Benson, who was the recipient of the board's Heroes Award last spring. It feels like a world away, but this was last April 2019. And again, the board members provide council updates at these events. So they're up at the mic, they deliver statements on behalf of their councils that they were elected to represent, and do a fantastic job of making sure everybody at the event has what they need. They're fantastic hosts, as well as making sure that they do their work as far as the council updates. And let's go into the specific activities of the councils themselves. So this was one of the first Council One meetings that was held on Zoom a couple months back. So we were used to meeting in person every single month, but due to COVID, we rolled with it. We switched to a virtual meeting format because advocacy doesn't sleep. We need to continue staying connected and doing the work despite the challenges posed by COVID. This is a photo taken last year as part of a campaign to increase the wages for direct support professionals. So this is a larger group shot of Council One when it was still safe to meet in person at our usual meeting spot. And moving on to another opportunity that Council One was involved with a couple months back. This is an event that is hosted each semester. We work with a professor at Montclair State University to basically host a self-advocacy panel and teach the students, who are all training to become special education teachers or school administrators, about self-advocacy. So there's self-advocates on the call. You can see a couple folks in the second row there. But it's a fantastic opportunity, and this opportunity aligns with one of their goals, which is to educate people about self-advocacy in person-first language. So you see one of the goals kind of in action. And this is a photo of representatives from Council 2, Chairwoman Renee and Vice Chairman Herbert. So here they are again supporting the Thanksgiving gratitude letter writing campaign that happened last year, the end of last year, to ask Governor Murphy to increase DSP wages. And this was something that the board signed on to, but Renee and Herbert also received approval from their regional council members to support this campaign. So here they are. And a goal of Council 2 is to testify at least one budget hearing. So here you see Chairwoman Renee testifying at, I believe this was the only in-person budget hearing that occurred this year. So again, advocacy in action, reaching goals, taking measurable steps to achieve these goals. Moving on to Council 3. Here we see Council 3 members participating in a relevant advocacy campaign. So again, this was a letter writing campaign about a particular bill that was being considered that would impact residents of group homes and supervised apartments statewide. So the group quickly weighed in and actually set up a meeting with the sponsor of the bill to express their concerns about that particular bill. And Council 4 here, some of the members participated in one of our monthly hashtag campaigns, which was in February, hashtag Advocate for Love. So this was an opportunity for self-advocates to use the hashtag and post their responses about the relationship between, love and self-advocacy, and kind of just allowing people with disabilities to gain equity in relationships as well. So this was something that Council 4 participated in last year. And last but not least, Council 5 representatives Shondell and Ellen. Here Shondell is posing in front of the Self-Advocacy Project and Statewide Self-Advocacy Network info table at the fall conference. Shondell was also, he was an attendee at the conference as well as a moderator. And on the right, Ellen is again participating in the hashtag Together No Limits Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month campaign. And again, each of the councils have separate goals and priorities, but there's always overlap. So there's definitely overlap between speaking up and making sure that we're furthering collective advocacy campaigns. So I hope that these photos kind of give a good snapshot of some of that work in action. And specifically, Council 5 was committed to gaining at least 3 new members. So it's not just about saying we want something, we have to take the steps to do it. And here we see an invite that was created so that Council 5 members could invite people to join the meetings. So all of the information is there along with Kelly's contact, as she is the group advisor. But again, part of our role as advisor is taking those steps and helping people achieve those goals. And just to do a quick overview, some of this was discussed in a previous recording, a previous webinar, but some of the in-person events that we're very much looking forward to getting back to and that are fully coordinated by the Statewide Self-Advocacy Network members are Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month events at the State House in Trenton, as well as our ADA awareness event on the boardwalk each year in July. Unfortunately, due to COVID this year, we just couldn't make it happen, but here are some photos from our event last year. We were celebrating the 29th anniversary at that point. But again, this aligns with the mission of the network, which is to gain greater recognition of self-advocacy and to really allow members of the public who might not otherwise interact with folks with disabilities to have that experience and to learn something about the ADA and its impact on a lot of different aspects of life, that it doesn't just impact people with disabilities. And here we have a snapshot from our Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month event. Super fun event. Commissioner Johnson of the Department of Human Services presented the governor's proclamation last year. And there's always an amazing group of advocates on hand to celebrate the day and to teach legislators about what Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month means and why it's important. And we touched on this a little bit already, but this is essentially the letter writing campaign that happened in November of last year. We collected hundreds of letters and mailed them to Governor Murphy. And the message was, our direct support professionals need a living wage. We need to increase that wage. So we need the state budget to reflect an increase. And there's a template. You can see that the letters are a form that you can download, but you can also customize it. So on the back of a lot of these letters, you'll find personal messages from individual advocates. And that's really what hits home, right? We want to make sure that as much as possible, the members of the Statewide Self-Advocacy Network have a chance to speak their individual piece and share individual stories, because that's what tells the bigger story. And that's what makes it real for our decision makers that we're trying to reach out to. This happens every year. So if you sign up for the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project email list, you will be sure to get this information and have a chance to participate later this year. I hope that you'll consider joining the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project email list regardless. We share great information that can be useful, not just to self-advocates, but our direct support staff and workforce, as well as family members, siblings, and just allies. So let's see if we have any questions to address. I'm trying to see here. I believe there was a suggestion before. Someone wants to see a webinar on IDEA, so the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, I believe it is. We are going to look into that for sure. I think that's an important piece of policy that affects a lot of students nationwide, so we want to make sure that we address that and share information about that. So thank you for that. And let's see if there's any other questions that we can talk about. And again, if you have feedback about this particular webinar or any topics you'd like to see us present on in the future, you could pop that in the questions box right now. We are fully paying attention to that, and we want to make sure we address any relevant comments or questions. You can also always get in touch with us on social media, or click here, sign up to join our email list. We'd love to have you. So I will leave the resources tab up for just a moment, but keep in mind that on the handouts tab, there's a bunch of resources in addition to a copy of the slides that we presented today. So if you ever have any questions, please don't be shy, reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you all so much for participating today, and we hope to see you again next week for Stay Healthy at Home.